Arrogant billionaire girlfriend picks fight with black girl. Seconds later, she was begging for mercy. Watch where you're going, you stupid girl. The insult cracked across the ballroom so sharply that conversations died at once. Nia Johnson turned slowly. A waiter behind her had been bumped in the crowd, and a few drops of champagne had splashed onto Vanessa Caldwell's designer sleeve. That was all it took. Vanessa looked Nia up and down with open disgust. Do they let just anybody in here now? Or are you one of the staff who forgot her place? A few people laughed nervously. Nia's face went still. That wasn't me, but even if it was, you could speak like someone with sense. Vanessa gave a short laugh. Excuse me. You heard me, Nia said. Vanessa stepped closer, eyes burning. Girls like you always get bold in rooms you didn't earn. Nia's jaw tightened, and women like you mistake money for class. That was when Vanessa tried to slap her. Fast, public, meant to humiliate. But Nia caught her wrist before it landed. The gasp in the room was immediate. Vanessa jerked free and swung again with the other hand. That was when Nia lost patience. She shoved Vanessa back so hard she crashed into a chair. The chair tipped, a glass shattered, people jumped to their feet. And then Nia went at her. Not wild, not scared. Precise, angry, relentless. Vanessa clawed at her, but Nia overpowered her almost instantly. She grabbed her by the shoulders, drove her back across the edge of the table, and when Vanessa tried to fight dirty, Nia matched her force and broke her confidence in seconds. The sound of tearing fabric cut through the room. One side of Vanessa's expensive dress ripped open. Then more. Now she was screaming, no longer arrogant, no longer in control. Stop, stop. But Nia had reached that dangerous place where too much disrespect becomes something else. She dragged Vanessa down in front of everybody, humiliated her, and beat her so badly the whole ballroom stood frozen. Then a man's voice thundered across the room. Enough! The doors had just opened. Her boyfriend, a tall, cold-faced man in a black suit, strode in, his expression unreadable, his eyes locked on the two women on the floor. Vanessa looked up at him first, desperate and shaking, certain he was about to save her. Nia rose slowly, breathing hard, still ready for more. He stopped in front of them. Then what he did next shocked everyone in the room. And the truth was, nobody there understood why not yet. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Months earlier, in a quiet hallway outside a ballroom restroom, Nia was working that night too. She was one of the few people in the room who had actually earned her place there. While wealthy guests toasted each other under gold light, Nia was making sure the event ran on time, the staff stayed coordinated, and the chaos behind the beauty remained invisible. She had just stepped away toward the ladies' restroom when she heard something strange. A dull thud, then a man's voice, low and aggressive. Take it off, now. Nia stopped. The men's and ladies' restrooms sat across from each other in a private corridor, with a small refreshment counter near the wall. She moved carefully and looked around the corner. An older man in a tuxedo had been pinned against the wall by someone wearing an event service jacket and a staff badge. At first glance, he looked official. At second glance, nothing about him was right. One hand was twisted in the older man's lapel. The other was trying to force an expensive watch off his wrist. Nia understood the situation instantly. This was no staff member. This was a thief who had slipped inside the event and waited for the right moment. The older man had come alone toward the restroom during the party. His security was still a short distance away, briefly delayed near the ballroom entrance. For less than a minute, he was exposed. That was all the attacker needed. Most people would have screamed. Nia moved. She grabbed the silver water pitcher from the refreshment counter and slammed it hard against the marble. The sound cracked through the hallway. Security, she shouted. He's armed. The attacker turned. That single second was enough. The older man pulled back, the grip loosened. Nia stepped in and brought the heavy pitcher down hard against the attacker's forearm. He cursed and staggered. Then security came running. The thief bolted down the service hall before they could catch him. Nia didn't chase him. She turned straight to the older man instead. Are you hurt? I'm fine, he said automatically. Nia looked at him once. No, you're not. Sit down. And somehow he listened. She made sure security called the police, checked that he was steady, and told his guard, Whoever cleared that badge needs to be investigated. The older man stared at her, shaken not just by what happened, but by the fact that she had stepped in without hesitation. When he tried to thank her, Nia simply nodded and went back to work. She never asked his name. She never asked for money. She just did what was right. The man she had just helped was Richard Hale. And Richard Hale never forgot her face. A few months later, Nia's firm was hired to manage another Hale Foundation event. That was where Ethan Hale first noticed her. At first, it was her composure. Then it was the way she spoke to people without fear or flattery. Then it was the way she handled pressure better than half the people in the room, who had far more money than she did. During a pre-event walkthrough, Ethan questioned a last-minute layout change. Nia answered without blinking, because the original setup looked expensive, not efficient. This one actually works. Ethan stared at her. You changed it without approval. Nia met his eyes. I changed it because it needed to be changed. Nobody spoke to Ethan Hale like that. He should have been annoyed. Instead, he respected her. That was where the problem began. Because Vanessa noticed it. At first, she hid it behind smiles. Oh, Nia, you're very confident. Then came the sharper comments. Some people get too comfortable around wealth. Then came the private cruelty. One afternoon, Vanessa visited during setup and criticized Nia in front of junior staff over flowers she had personally approved the week before. Nia waited until the staff moved away, then said quietly, "If you want to be feared, that's your choice, but don't confuse it with being respected." Vanessa's smile tightened. Careful. Nia didn't move. You first. The more Vanessa pushed, the more Ethan saw what kind of woman Nia really was. She wasn't loud for attention. She wasn't fake. She wasn't impressed by money. She had dignity and she protected it. That stayed with him. And Vanessa could feel it. She began interrupting conversations, forcing herself into planning meetings, making jokes about staff forgetting boundaries. But every time she tried to make Nia look small, she exposed herself instead. Even Richard Hale started watching Nia more closely. Something about her felt familiar. The voice, the calm, the eyes. He just hadn't placed her yet. At one private luncheon, Vanessa cornered Nia near the mirror and said, "Let me save you time. Men like Ethan admire women like you from a distance. They don't choose them." Nia turned and looked her straight in the eye. "Good, I'm not waiting to be chosen." That answer burned Vanessa more than anger would have. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. By the night of the final gala, the tension was already there, simmering under every smile. The room was full, the donors were watching, the lights were soft, the music was gentle. And Vanessa was barely holding herself together. She had spent the entire evening noticing Ethan's attention drift too often toward Nia. Not because Nia was trying. Because she didn't have to. Then came the crowded moment. The bumped waiter. The champagne drops on Vanessa's sleeve. The insult. The slap. And the fight that shut the whole ballroom down. Now we're back where the story began. Vanessa on the floor. Nia standing over her. The dress torn. The room frozen. And Ethan Hale, Vanessa's boyfriend, standing over both of them. Vanessa reached for him first. "Ethan, she attacked me." Nia said nothing. Ethan looked at Vanessa. Then at Nia's arm, where red nail marks had already risen across her skin. Then he did the last thing anyone expected. He took off his suit jacket. For 1 second, the room thought he was about to cover Vanessa. Instead, he stepped past her and draped it around Nia's shoulders. The whole ballroom went silent. Vanessa stared at him. "What are you doing?" Ethan's voice was cold. "What I should have done a long time ago." Then Richard Hale stood. He walked toward Nia, not Vanessa. And when he stopped in front of her, he said, "It was you." Nia frowned. Richard looked around the room. "A few months ago at one of our events, I was cornered near the restroom corridor by a man pretending to be staff. She stepped in before my own team reached me. She protected me, asked for nothing, and walked away." Murmurs spread instantly. Vanessa looked like the floor had dropped under her. Richard's face hardened, and tonight, after all the dignity she has shown in this room, she was attacked. Vanessa tried to speak, but Ethan turned to her first. "We are done." She blinked. "What?" "We are done," he said again. You don't get to put your hands on people, humiliate them, and then act like the victim. Her voice cracked. You're choosing her. Ethan held her gaze. I'm choosing decency. Nobody came to Vanessa's defense. Nobody. Because the truth had finally become too visible to hide. She gathered what was left of her torn dress and walked out under the same eyes she had once used to intimidate others. When she was gone, the room felt different. Cleaner. Nia picked up her bag. I should leave. Ethan's voice softened. Nia. She looked at him. You should never have had to defend yourself like that, he said. Nia let out a tired breath. No, but I'm glad I didn't stay quiet. Richard gave a small nod. So am I. Ethan walked her to the curb. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then he said, I respect you. Nia looked at him. Respect is easy to say. Yes, he replied, so let me prove it. That made her pause. Not because he was rich. Because, for the first time, he sounded honest. He took a breath. Can I call you tomorrow? Nia held his gaze for one quiet second. Then she nodded. Tomorrow. And sometimes that is how something real begins. Not with money. Not with status. But with truth. If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. What does this story teach us about how we treat people we think are beneath us, when their character may be greater than our own? Let me know in the comments section.